Welcome back to the chat. We are so excited to introduce our next guest. He is someone you'll be seeing a lot of in the coming months, providing us with insightful expert analysis on many of the biggest legal issues making headlines. He comes from a long line of prominent attorneys going back over 40 years. The Pajcics are best known for their success in the courtroom, in the area of politics, and as public servants, giving back to the community they call home. We are pleased to welcome attorney Seth Pajcic. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
All right, so this is quite a background that you claim. 40 years of law
That's
practice
right. I'm
in your
40
family.
years old, so.
There you go. There you go. So tell us about your family's background. I mean, that's a long time to go back as a family, you know, in the field of law. Yeah.
Well, my grandmother moved to Jacksonville from Tallahassee back in the 50s, 40s actually, and my grandfather was a custodian at NAS, the Naval Air Station, and put my dad, my uncle, and my 4 aunts through college, and then my dad and my uncle came back to Jacksonville after law school and started the law firm. So that's how we got to have Pajcic and Pajcic, and here we are so many years later.
So when you're born in the Pajcic family, you are going into law, right? Is that what it is?
In my family, I have 3 brothers and a sister.
Okay.
3 of us are lawyers. So I have a brother who's a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch.
He escaped.
My dad said my dad said he was the smartest one.
A bunch of underachievers in that family.
Yeah, really.
And my sister's a homemaker, so she lives out at the beach.
Another
and takes care of her kids.
underachiever.
That's
Yes.
That's a very tough job.
So if you have kids and grandkids, I don't know if you have children, are they going into law as well?
I have 2 kids. I have a 9-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son. I don't know what they want to do. My son wants to be a professional baseball player. My daughter wants to be a U.S. Supreme Court justice, so I guess that doesn't include the law. So.
She's not shooting high at all,
That's
is
right.
she?
Not at all.
So what areas of law do you guys practice?
Personal injury. So we represent victims of auto accidents, medical malpractice. So if someone gets negligently injured by a doctor, if they're in an auto accident and get badly hurt, slip and falls, any type of plaintiff's personal injury case, that's what we deal with, and that's all we do.
Now, I want to go over some of the wonderful successes you've had.
Yeah.
Being named top 40, under 40 by the National Trial Lawyers in 2012.
Yes.
Congratulations on that.
Thank
and
you.
A Florida Super Lawyers Rising Star.
That's right.
Super lawyer.
That's right. I'm a super lawyer.
So is there a lot of pressure now for you to succeed or continue succeeding?
I don't know if there's external pressure.
Right.
I mean, internally, yes. I put pressure on myself to do the best I can and to really do the best on behalf of my clients. People come to us and they're in bad shape. People come to us in their darkest days, and they come to us and they want answers, and that's what I try to do. I try to do the best for my clients and give them the best outcome possible.
Excellent.
Now people know that President Obama came to Jacksonville to attend a wedding.
That's right.
And that happened to be your cousin's wedding.
That's correct.
So tell us about that. I mean, when the president comes to, your family's wedding, that had to be.
It was a great experience. And not only President Obama, but Secretary Kerry, John Kerry, he officiated the wedding, and President Obama was a groomsman.
Right, he was a groomsman.
Right.
I mean, that's a big deal.
It was amazing. And my uncle and my dad, they grew up on a small little house in Orchard Street, which is right off Beaver Street on the west side of Jacksonville. And I think it's a testament to really how far we've come in just 2 generations. The kids that grew up on Orchard Street, and now they're having the president and the Secretary of State at their child's wedding. So it was really neat. It was an amazing thing, and President Obama was very gracious. He stuck around afterwards and shook everybody's hand, and it was an amazing experience. It really was.
So what was the relationship? How do they know?
My cousin Helen worked on the Obama campaign. And she met Marvin, who is President Obama's body man, which is the person who sort of follows President Obama around wherever he goes. So if you ever see a really tall guy, about 6'8", in pictures with President Obama, that's Marvin.
Not James Comey.
That's right.
It's Marvin.
And he sort of looks like James Comey. That's Marvin.
But he's way taller.
That's my cousin's husband.
Okay.
And because they have a very close relationship, President Obama came to the wedding and was a groomsman. So it was something else.
Yeah.
So why are they so passionate about politics? Is there
I really think it has to do with my grandmother. My grandmother Louise Cash, my great-grandfather, her father, wrote the first authoritative history of the state of Florida. W.T. Cash is his name. He was a professor at Florida State. And my grandmother went to college and was a chemistry major back in the 20s or 30s. So before any women really did that. And I think she instilled in my dad and my uncle and her daughters a real sense of the importance of, back in the civil rights movement, the importance of civil rights and women's rights. And it's just sort of carried on through from my grandmother to my dad and my uncle down to us. We're all very passionate about those issues. That, advancing the rights of all people. And so I think that's why we are all very passionate and still very involved in politics. Well,
we got you here. You're going to be here after this, and what you're going to do is weigh in on many legal topics. So we got one for you.
Shoot.
And it is one a lot of people heard about, the traffic accident that Venus Williams was involved in. In fact, someone died in this. It happened on June 9th, and it's kind of up in the air as to whether or not she caused it. Her side says not really, etc. But anyway, she's being charged. Well, is she being charged with vehicular homicide in this one?
No.
Okay.
Not vehicular homicide, no.
But she is at fault in this or not?
She was, I think, from what I understand, she was cited as being at fault for the crash. But that is totally outside of the civil context. If you say you get involved in an accident,
right.
Somebody sues you, whatever the ticket, that's not coming in front of the courtroom. So that will never come in, that whether or not she was cited or at fault for the crash. What the civil case is about is, was she negligent? Did she do something that a reasonably careful person wouldn't do, to be really boring and legalese? But that's what it all boils down to. So right now, I think she says she was going 5 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. The family of the person that died said that she was speeding. So that will all come out in the evidence. Whatever video evidence there was, whatever eyewitnesses say, that's sort of how that will be determined. But it's definitely not a crime. It wasn't reckless, she wasn't drunk, she wasn't texting, she wasn't speeding or weaving. So
it's a civil case.
Not necessarily, I misspoke. She may have been speeding, I don't know, but she wasn't doing anything reckless.
Right.
Something that was purposely endangering another person.
Let me ask, oh sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. Let me ask you a question though, because I'm watching her at Wimbledon, mm-hmm. and there's an interviewer asking her about the case. And it crossed my mind, I'm thinking, whether you're a celebrity or not, whether you're putting your information out there how you want it to be said, whether it's on social media or through any outlet, is that advised? Is that a good idea to get her story out to I don't know,
talk about it.
I don't want to say play the victim, but to appear to be the victim in this and to be very, upset over it and distraught. Does that help or not?
Anything she says, if those words she's used in interviews, that can be used against her in court. Mm-hmm. So once that's all discoverable, that can be played in a courtroom. These are her words. So if they hurt her, it's not good. I didn't see the interview in question. But I would never advise a client of mine to go, when there's a pending legal matter, to go on air and talk about it. I just don't think that's a good idea, because anything you say can be used against you later on. So.
Is it typical in this kind of situation that a lawsuit is filed? People look at it and go, well, it's Venus Williams, of course they're suing her, mm-hmm. she's rich. Yeah. But is it something that really is commonplace?
Well, look, right here we have the family saying she did something wrong. She was, mm-hmm. I believe she was cited for the crash. So you have a dead person and probably a distraught family, and I don't think it matters whether or not Venus Williams is rich or not. They're going to bring a suit against someone they felt was at fault, and the reason why, that their loved one is dead.
So here's the $1 million question, or maybe multi-million-dollar question. How do you prove who is right?
Well, that goes to the lawyering and the evidence. So lawyers are only as good as the evidence that they have. You have to have good evidence in order to make a case. So if all the eyewitnesses say Venus Williams did nothing wrong, it's going to be pretty tough to make a good case against her. So it's going to come down to what the videos show and what the eyewitnesses say.
Can I ask what's your gut? What do you think is going to happen in this case?
My gut is there'll probably be a settlement of some sort. I don't think Venus Williams is going to want to be dragged through several depositions and have this thing go on forever. So I would imagine they just settle the case, and so both sides can move on with their lives.
Sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much for
joining
us. We appreciate it. Sure. And we want to thank our legal contributor, Seth Pajcic of the law firm Pajcic Pajcic. Easy for me to say, right?